Everyone, I'm going to talk today about setting up your files in InDesign for your business card system. I'm going to go ahead and create new. And if I go over to print and see all presets, I can find a preset for a US business card. This will be set to be the correct size. I'm just going to use that. I'm going to turn off facing pages. I don't think for this type of project we need facing pages. I'm going to change the margins because 3 picas is pretty large. I'm going to change it to 1, and I'm going to change the bleed to 9 points, which is equivalent to 1/8 of an inch, and hit create. Okay, so here is my business card file. Now I could also change the orientation. A business card can go horizontal and it can go vertical. I want to talk first about master pages. A lot of what you do in InDesign is things that you can use to set up systems to make things consistent. And we use that often in InDesign, and one of them is master pages. So I go up here and click on this page here. I'm now on master page A. And if you look at my page number 1 in my document, it also has an A on it. That means that anything I put on the master page A will also appear on an A page. I can also do a new master, and it'll automatically be B. And I can name this. I'm going to name this my back because I know this is going to be for my back of my card. And I'm going to go ahead and double click on this one. Sorry, I'm going to option click and say master options. And I'm going to call this one front. Now, if I add a new page here, which I can do down here, go to page 1, add a new page, it automatically made it master page A. I can simply pick up master page B and drop it on here, and now you'll see that little letter change to B. So now I have one page that follows master page A and another page that follows master page B. I'm going to start master page A. On here, this is going to be the, it goes back and forth. Is this the front, is the back? This is going to be the side of the card that has the logo on it. And so I'm going to go ahead and import my logo by making a frame, hitting Command D. And I already went through and found all of the assets I want to use for this project. So here we go. I'm going to squeeze this in here. See how it looks. All right. It's really important, this is the first project you're going to be printing, that you make sure all of your assets are high enough resolution. And I'll show you how to do that with a photo. For the logos, I recommend that you try to find a vector version of your logo. There's a website called brandsoftheworld.com, and that's where I found this logo. I actually would like to do a colored background, and I think that what's going to happen if I try to do that, I'll just test it out with one of my colors. Yep. So it has some white on it. This did say it was a vector, so let's make sure that is true. I'm going to go to my links. It does say it's a vector. So I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to try to edit this. So I can click on the file and I can actually just say edit with Illustrator, and it should open this up in Illustrator for me. Here we go. And now I can see it is truly vector and it just has a white box on it. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to resave it. I'm just going to make sure I save it as an EPS right on top of the other file, replace it. Okay. Close that file, go back to InDesign, and it replaced it for me. So now I don't have a background. So now I can simply select my frame and I can go ahead and add a background. Now I prefer to just say select all unused and get rid of the colors I know I'm not going to use. Remember, in InDesign, it's important that you make the colors you use swatches. That way you can control them and it becomes basically like a global color. Since this is for printing, I want to make sure I'm using CMYK and not RGB. RGB is meant for screen reading only, and CMYK is our preferred file color mode for printing. So I'm going to go ahead and try to make this red a little bit. It's going to have to be dark so the other red can kind of stand out from it. All right, I kind of dig how that looks. So now I have that front, and you can see everything I put on my master page, as I said, is on page 1 now. Now, it's not as important for page 1 because there's only one page 1. This is going to be the back of all of my cards. But what I do want to show is that when I click here, I can't move anything. So anything that's on a master page is automatically locked on the page that it's connected to. And I'll go through how to unlock that when we get to our master page B. I also like to set up my layers at this point. So I like to do a layer for guides. We'll see if I end up having any. I like to do a layer for art. I like to do a layer for text. And sometimes I do a layer for background. But for now, I'm just going to do my art and text. I'm going to make sure this is on art. Okay, it is. And layers are what is on the layer is specifically on that page. You have to be on a specific page to see what is on the layer for that page. Okay, now I'm going to work on the back of the cards. And I'm doing this on my master page because I know I'm going to have multiple backs for all the different characters of Seinfeld that I'm going to include. I also want to set up some kind of grid system. So I'm going to go to my margins and columns, and I'm going to make sure preview is on. And I'm going to add a system for myself to use for placement of things. A card is pretty small. I think a 6 column grid is a good place to start. I think my margins of 1 piket are working for now, and I might change them later, but I'll leave that for now. Okay, so now on my back of my card, I'm going to go ahead. The first thing I'm going to do is I know I want to put the character's face on the back. So I'm going to draw a circle frame, and I think I'm going to maybe do it across 2 of my columns. I'm going to hit Command D. And I already went through and I made some black and white tips of the characters. Now, as I mentioned before, we have to make sure that these are high enough resolution for printing. And we do that by going to Window and Info. And we can select, I'm sorry, it's not Info. We go to Window and Links. We select our image. And we can see here that while the actual PPI, so this file I downloaded online was 72 DPI, but the effective is 358 because I'm scaling down so much, I'm adding the information I need to get this to that 300 PPI threshold that we always aim for. 150 is the minimum for printing, but 300 is what you're trying to get to. So now I have Jerry in here. I can work on colorizing him a little bit if I want. And again, you can do whatever you want with your photos. You can work on them first in Photoshop and bring them in. I'm just choosing this method. I'm going to go to a new color swatch. And I want to get a little bit of a yellow. I'm going to say okay. And I also want to get a kind of blue. And you can import color libraries in here. You can do all sorts of things. I think it's also important to touch that for this project, we are using photos of the characters we find online. It doesn't mean we actually have the legal rights to use everything, but this is just a practice project for in-school learning, and that is why it's okay to use these files. So when I select my selection arrow, I'm going to be changing the background color. And when I use my direct select arrow, which is key command A, I'm going to be changing the black. So let's keep Jerry that way for now. Next, I want to add in some of the type. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a text box. Now in the assignment, it shows you exactly how much type you need to include. I already went through and wrote out the type for Jerry here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do a business card. And that's really up to you to explore and to decide what your design is going to be. As always, we recommend that you sketch first. I'm just going to get rid of those bullets here. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to select just a typeface that I have loaded just for the sake of this demo. We'll start with this typeface. Business card type can be pretty small. Each typeface is different, so there's not a rule of thumb saying like 8 is okay, but I'm going to start with 8. And so now I have a lot of information, but no hierarchy. So I want to start building hierarchy. So I want to think about what is the most important thing on a business card. And just to point out, I'm still working on master page B, and you can see it's starting to fill in on page 2. So we'll talk about making multiples of these cards in a minute. I think for me, it's his name and his title. And I probably will also move the name of his show up there as well. And then I'm going to kind of link like information. So to me, all of his online information should go together. So we have his email, we have the website, and we have his social media handle. And then I'm going to do his address. I'm going to add a soft return. I'm going to turn on my hidden character so you can see what I'm adding in here. And we'll talk about returns and soft returns momentarily. And I'm going to just add a soft return here. Okay, so now I'm kind of grouping my like information together. And you might need a hard return because you might need different spacing. I know that I want to connect to these top 3, so I'm going to just do soft returns. Soft returns don't carry what we call space after information. And so it uses the leading of those lines of text to control the spacing. And this will all make sense very shortly. I'm actually going to move his phone number to the very bottom. Okay, so now that I have this set up, I can go in and I can bring up my paragraph box and I can start working my space after. And you'll see it's only adding space after the returns. And so now I'm kind of grouping together like information. I can also think about the hierarchy of what is most important and how do I stylize that. And I think his name is pretty important. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to change his name to all caps. And I want to do this through my character box. I don't want to actually change how I keyed it in. If you go up to type and change case, this is changing how it's keyed in. It cannot be saved as a style. But if I select his name and go to character all caps, this can be saved as what's called a style, which we'll be covering, and then we can apply it to other names a lot easier. Okay, so now I changed the to all caps and it's still 8 points. I think what I would like to do now is I'd like to change the typeface for his name. So I want to find something that works well with my other typeface. I'm going to try to find something maybe bold and condensed. Let's see. So I got go for here. Make sure I have the whole line selected when I do it. Let's do go for heavy. I'm going to make it a little bit larger too. So I'm going to do 9 points. Okay. And since I have decided to do a different style for the name and the text below, I'm actually going to make that into a hard return and control the space after that way. But I don't need any space after right now. So I'm going to go in and just make that 0. Okay. And now there's his name and there's what he does. And there's his show. I can just decide I want to do a comma. So he's a stand-up comedian on Seinfeld. So that is his title and his company. I could also decide down here that I want to add a graphic to say this is an email, or I could just write the word email. And I often do this just so I can have a nice style change. So now I did email and now I know I'm using Gopher as my second typeface. So I'm going to go to Gopher. I'm going to say it's all caps. This time I want it to be smaller because it's not as important. So I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to add just a little bit of tracking, which makes me think up here, maybe I want a little bit of tracking too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I have a style for what I am using to signify what type of information this is. And again, obviously we know it's an email address, but it gives us a way of building the hierarchy. Okay, I'm going to say, so that's his Twitter handle. I don't know if we need it on the address. It's very apparent it's the address, but let's use it on the phone. So let's say phone. So now I'm starting to get more of a system here. Now maybe I want to look a little bit at color. So I'm going to pull up my swatches. And I think his name, actually, I think I'm going to make everything in the red. And then I'm going to make his name in the blue. And I'm going to make all of my little signifiers in the blue. And I'm liking how this is looking now. I do think I need a little bit more color. And I also am thinking that maybe this would look better if the type was sitting at the bottom. So I can go to this text box and I can go to object text frame options. And I can say, let's align this to the bottom. And now everything's going to sit on the bottom. Check it out. I think if I'm going to go to the bottom, I might have to move his photo to the bottom too. Okay. I could even decide if I want that maybe his name should be on the one side and his other information should be on the other. I could do this by opening up this box. I think I'm going to go ahead and change it back to top align for this try. I'm going to add 2 columns. And so I want to make sure my columns have the same gutter width as my grid I set up. And so I'm just going to change that till it aligns. There we go. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit enter, which is the key command for enter. That was not it. So enter does get us to the next column, if I can get it to work. There we go. So it was function and return on my iMac. And now I can get to the other column. So let's take a look at this and see if we like this. I'm not sure I'm digging it. Let me try again to see if bottom align looks any better. I can't get to the photo because the layers, there's two things I can do to address that. I can go to my layers and make sure my text is actually on my text layer and my art is on my art layer. And then I could lock the text layer and then it would let me get to my art. And it looks like there must be an extra space underneath here. Yep, so it's not sitting at the ground. Let's take a look now. Okay, let's say I'm getting happier with this. I'm going to go to my art layer here, make sure I'm on the right card. And I'm also going to add a color behind this side. So I have an object here. Pull up my swatches. And I'm going to add some yellow. This has to go behind the image, so I can do that again in my layers, or I can go to arrange and send to back. And that will send it to the back. All right. I think the only thing I would like to do here is I'd like now to knock down Seinfeld to the next line and do something stylistically different. I'm going to just make it italicized. I just think that on this layout, it looks better to do it this way. All right. So I'm getting very, very close. One more thing I do want to point out is that when I set my box for the color behind Jerry's face, I made sure that I went over to the bleed line. And this is super important to set up a file that needs to be printed because we need to have bleed. So when we trim this out, we don't accidentally cut off too much and show white. Okay. So the final thing I need to work on are my style sheets. So just like master pages help us have consistency on what items appear and where, our style sheets keep consistency in our type. So I'm going to go over to styles and bring up my paragraph styles. And I also want to bring up my character styles, which is somewhere already. Okay, here's paragraph styles. Let's see if I can find where my character styles are hiding. And throw these together. Let's be over here somewhere. Sorry about this, everyone. Usually on a bigger screen, so it's somewhere off screen that I can't see. Let's try now to see if I can get it to come up. So it thinks it's here somewhere. Up there it is at the very bottom. Okay, so I'm going to move this here. Okay. So paragraph styles and character styles. So an important thing to remember is a character style doesn't exist unless it's inside of a paragraph style. So every type on your page will be a paragraph style. A character style is only if within a paragraph style you want a style change. And we're going to go through that today because here we have the same line of text. We don't have any returns and we have two styles. I'm going to set this up, but I'm going to set it up down here because this type here only has one style. And so I know that it will set up correctly. So I'm going to highlight this text here and I'm going to go to my drop down and say new paragraph style. And this is going to be my body copy because I'm going to use this. Now you can have as many styles as you want. What's important is that you name your styles in a way that you'll remember. I'm going to hit OK. It does not automatically make this the body copy style. I have to go in and select it for it to be body copy style. Okay. I also know that this here is body copy, but you see this little plus sign? It means not everything is following that style. Now, if I double click the style, we can see what it is. So this is my typeface. This is the style. This is the size, the leading, and it has everything you can imagine. We even can do paragraph rules, which I can cover quickly. I'll do that with Jerry's name. But so it's saying something is not in style, and that's because this is italicized. But since this is going to be within the same letting, there's no hard return. I'm not trying to control the space between stand-up comedian and Seinfeld. I can make this just a character style. So I just go here, I say new character style. And all I need it to be is that round italic. I don't need it to even be the right font. It just has to be the italic. And so I'm going to call this company because this is the company name. I'm going to go ahead and select company here. And now when I go back to my paragraph style and I select all of this, let's see, I hit control click to get rid of the plus, but my Seinfeld stayed the same because this now is the company style. Now, if I go to stand-up comedian, there's no character style because that is just based on the paragraph style. So now I have my style for my Seinfeld. The other style I need is for my signifier. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say signifier. And I'm going to select that. And I'm going to go to each of those and select them. And I'm doing this before I set the paragraph style, just so it doesn't accidentally change any of these. And I'll wait to do this one until after so you can see the difference. So now I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to say all of this is the body copy. I'm going to hold down Option click to get rid of the plus. And you'll see what happened is it changed phone and made this into the paragraph style. But I want that to be the character style. So all I have to do is go into character, click signifier, and there we go. I also want to point out that my space after is in my body copy. So if I go to indent and spacing, you can see my space after is at 8 points. So now that I have everything, one more I need to be style. I need his name. Now his name is a different typeface and I do have a return so that if I wanted to, I could add a little bit of space. And I actually am not, I'm going to add a little bit of space, I'll add a little less, but I am going to add what's called a paragraph rule. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say paragraph rules, turn it on, make a rule below, and I want to preview it. And so now it's adding a rule. And I can control, I'm going to turn the rule on. I control the offset, so I can move it down a little bit. I think I have a rule above turned on too. I just want the rule below turned on. I can control the right indent, so I can go out or in. And something that's important to think about with your system is setting up a system that will work for any length name. Usually what I do is I start with the longest name and the shortest name, and I design for those together so that I'm thinking about, will the system work? But I kind of like the line going to the edge here. So I'm going to say, okay. And now this will be saved when I make a style. So I'm going to say new paragraph style, and this is going to be name. And if I go under paragraph rules and go to rule below, there's my rule I just set up. Okay. All right. Make sure that I select name. So it is set to that style. And I'll just show you for the heck of it. Like if I go to body copy, you'll see now it changed the body copy. But if I go to name, it's my name style. So now I have styles for everything. And that's something you'll have to do for this assignment. Everything has to have a style. All right, let's just take a look at this. All right, I like everything I'm seeing. Now remember, this was on my master page. Hit W to get out of this mode. Go to my pages. And so everything is on my master pages here. Let me, before I go on, make sure my layers are all correct. So I have this text box on text. I have this on art. I have this on text. Great. So now Jerry's card is set up. I don't need to do anything, but I'm going to do an additional card because, again, this is a series of cards. So I'm going to pull this down. And I'm going to have page 3. Now, page 3 right now is everything Jerry. Now I can make a change, and anything I unlock and change, that attribute will change. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to click Command-Shift-Click to unlock the text. So now the text is unlocked, but I'm going to locally just lock that because I want to get to his photo. And I'm going to hit Command-Shift-and-Click, and now I have his photo. I'm going to hit Command-D, and I'm going to find my Kramer photo. Now it's going to apply the same color because that is based on the style. Now let's say I decide, you know, I don't know about this color anymore. If I go back to my master page and I select Jerry, I'm going to pull back up my swatches and I'm going to change this foreground color to black. Now when I go to my pages, Jerry changed to black. But since I unlocked Kramer, he is no longer changing. So I'm going to have to change him myself. But I just changed the picture, which changes the color too. I didn't change the position. Let's say, I'm going to go back here, I'm going to undo. Let's say I just want to change the position. I'm on my master page and I want Jerry to now sit here. What you'll see, because I never changed Kramer's position, Kramer now moved too, because that attribute of this frame is still connected to the master page. So I'm going to undo that. I can do so much on the master now. Let's say I want to change this background color here. Make it red, let's say. You can see now on my pages, it is both red. Again, I'm not going to want to do that, but that does work. Now when I go on Kramer's page, I have unlocked the type. I just locally locked it. So now I can go back to my Word document and I can start pasting in my information from there. So here is Kramer's name. I want to make sure I keep that return. Now, if I didn't, like the first time I did it, and it changed to another typeface, I just have to select that and make sure my styles are still up. And I just have to make this name. And now it is the name style. I'm going to delete that return there. I'm going to go back. Here is his title. Again, I have to delete this. And then he is also Seinfeld, so that is the same show. And I can go through for all of his information and just paste it in. I like things to be consistent, so I'm going to just make that lowercase. Now here is a good example. So I didn't design for a long enough system to fit Kramer's email address. So I'm going to have to address that and make the system work for both. The only other difference is that he has a different phone number. So let's go in and change the phone number. And he's apartment 5B and he has a different handle for his Twitter. So there's that. And here's his apartment. Okay. So now I have to look at this system. It's just not working for me anymore. So what I can do, because I have style sheets, is that I can just go into this body up, make sure you don't have something selected. I still had that frame selected, so I changed it. I'm going to go into my body copy. And I'm going to first start and be like, maybe the type has to be 7 points. All right. Now I'm thinking that's kind of small over on the left-hand side. So I think I actually have to make a new style for that if I'm going to do 7-point type. Maybe that's not the best solution. Maybe it's a typeface change. So maybe instead of this typeface, maybe I need to have something that is more condensed. So let's see what I happen to have loaded that is condensed. And you should always use Adobe fonts for type. I'm just trying to quickly do this. All right. There we go. All right. That looks good. It looks a little bit light to me, so I'm going to do medium, maybe even bold. Okay. And then it looks like what happens. So if I hit OK now, you're going to see this because it's a style. It's going to have changed on all of them. All right. But my Seinfeld character, there must not have been an equivalent name to the same exact style. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say italic preview, see if it finds that. All right. We're going to actually select the typeface and we're going to do medium italic. Okay. It's not liking that. Okay, I'll try a different way. I'm going to go to my character here and I'm going to say medium italic here. Okay, and now what I can do is I can go to my character style and change it to all caps. I don't want it all caps. I'm going to turn that off. And you're saying the plus sign, it's saying you're not following your own style. So what I want to do, because I do like how it looks here, I actually just want to go in here and I want to redefine style. And now it's going to make my style the right typeface. So it's going to be the signifier now. It feels a little bit small to me. It looks like the rest of my type is 8 points and it's also the wrong color. So I'm going to have to make that 8. I'm going to change the color to my red. And I'm going to once again go to redefine style. All right. And I was selecting the wrong one the whole time, and that was the problem. I was using my company instead of my signifier. Sorry, my signifier instead of my company. So let's do this the right way. And that was why it got messed up. So we will select bold italic or medium italic. We will redefine style for company, which is the one I wanted. All right, we are there now. And you'll see now that I changed those styles, it automatically changed them on Jerry's. All right, so those are the basics of style sheets and master pages. One final note, you will be printing these out and you will need crop and bleed on. So what you can do is you can either print directly from here, so you can go to print, or you can export as a PDF and print the PDF. Exporting as a PDF embeds the fonts. So you don't have to be on a computer that has these fonts to print. So this is what I recommend doing. I'm going to go to my folder of saving. I'm going to hit save. And what I want to do is in here, there's a compression. I don't really want to compress anything to under 150. So I'm going to leave it at 300 so that nothing gets smaller than 300 DPI. I'm going to go to Marks and Bleed. I'm just going to turn on my crops. I'm turning my bleed setting. I also like to have view PDF after exporting on, so that when I export it, it will automatically open up the PDF and it shows me my front of my card and my backs of my card. So there you have it.